Chris. You'll have your moment in the spotlight in a second. So on behalf of Mayor President Broome, I want to welcome all of you here. My name is Marley, for those who in the room who don't know me. I am the Community Revitalization Director for Mayor President Broome's office, which is a new position and a fancy title for what essentially means looking at the intersection of all of the different things that it takes to create revitalized communities, from blight to housing, to landlord and tenant issues, to community development, community assets, corridor revitalization, all of that, to see how all of the great people in City Parish and nonprofit partners and residents and community groups are working together or not working together to create real systemic change. So my background is in community development. I worked at Mid-City Redevelopment for many years, leading a lot of the changes on Government Street with a great team of people over there. And so taking some of that experience and knowledge in the neighborhoods to our city. In particular, doing a lot of work with Resident Leader. And so I see a few Resident Leaders for Mayor President Broome's Resident Leader Academy in the room. And that obviously makes me very happy to see. All right. So neighborhoods, they touch all of our lives, right? So from our education, housing, raising our families is where we see job opportunities. We know our neighborhood conditions affect our housing, our health, safety outcomes for our families. That's because a city can only be great when our neighborhoods are prosperous. And that begins with clearing the blight that we see every day in parts of our parish. And I'm so grateful for all of the small businesses in the room and in the hallway who are signing in, that you all want to join us in being a part of the work to make our neighborhoods better, to clear the blight that is affecting so many of us. So Mayor Broome brought me on, right, to direct community revitalization, and she's had a community revitalization strategy since the beginning of her administration, and it really boils down to three things. You have to have safe, thriving neighborhoods, you have to have healthy, affordable housing, and you have to have an engaged community, right, that can lead the change from the grassroots. As a part of this, Mayor has committed significant funding, federal dollars that have come down to the city to help us to respond to COVID and all of the many changes that we've seen. We have dedicated, and Rachel, our Director of Development, is going to say more about this, but we have dedicated $4.5 million to clearing blight. Now that's not, not all the contracts we're talking about today are $4.5 million contracts, but that's the money that we're going to be putting in neighborhoods, and with the help of all of you and the City Parish leaders we have here assembled, we are going to clear and clean thousands of properties and corridors over the next 2 years. That is a huge impact in one go, one that we really haven't seen in Baton Rouge. And it's an unparalleled opportunity not only to provide small business opportunities for y'all to get contracts and to be a part of the work, but to really look at the future of these neighborhoods and how we can develop them permanently. We're hosting this session, though, because we want our small businesses, our minority, our women-owned, our veteran-owned businesses to have a seat at the table for this work. Mayor Broome knows that engagement from all of you will not only make this a more successful effort, it'll improve our economy, it's going to create jobs, and it's going to help cycle these dollars through our economy over and over again. So I just, before I pass it over to our purchasing department to talk about how you can qualify to get these lovely contracts that can promote your small business and help your small business grow, I want to give a couple ground rules. So first, and I have a couple questions for y'all. So I've talked a bit about myself. How many in the room have had a contract with City Parish before? How many of you have been a vendor in the past? Okay, it's a few of you. All right. So at least a few people have done it before and thought it was worth finding out to do it again. It's a positive vote of confidence. Okay, how many of you on a daily basis are picking up blight? Maybe you've got a construction business and you put dumpsters in front of construction. How many of y'all are doing that on a daily basis, dealing with junk, trash, debris? Okay, that's a lot of y'all. How many of y'all just have a small business and you're interested in growing in this neighborhood improvement space? All right, that's most of you. Okay, all right. That gives, I think, all of us a little bit of an understanding of who's in the room. You know, this, and I'll talk more about this, but this bid package was designed to be really easy way for you to enter if you've never done this before, right? So for those who haven't, which is the majority of you, hopefully this is that opportunity. Working with City Parish can be challenging, and it requires a little bit of patience. And those in the room who raise their hands to the first question, you know, you can network with them and you can hear things that maybe I won't say. But with that in mind, we have done a lot of work to make this process as easy and as transparent as it could be. And so I want to invite Chris to come up and Paul Narcisse to come up from the purchasing department. We have the director and the assistant director here joining us, so the whole leadership team of the process. I want to encourage you, you know, listen to their presentation, but no question is too small. If you don't leave this room understanding how to apply, or how to, not apply, submit a bid for this, compete to win, thank you, my legal team here, then we have not succeeded. So without further ado.
Folks, thank you so much for coming today. It's I'm grateful to be up here just to touch base with you in regards to purchasing. It's always important as we share knowledge. It helps us understand if we're meeting your expectations and what we need to do better as we work as a team. Our team is very focused on ensuring that we follow public bid laws, but we ensure that the process itself is not too cumbersome. What I plan to do today, matter of fact, in this presentation is to ensure that first and foremost, I help you understand what our current processes are within public bid law and how do we engage with our internal and external customers.
Can I jump in for 20 seconds?
Sure can.
So I'm Chris Gornson, this is Paul. Titles, it looks like one reports to the other, but honestly, I probably report to him. He recently joined City Parish. He's been with us for about 3 months.
3 months.
I've been here 3 years. Both of us had a lot of private sector experience, so you'll kind of catch that as we discuss it. I don't like standing up here, and I'm not that good looking, so I'm going to go sit, and where I need to supplement, I will supplement. But I appreciate you making me come up here and stand, but I'm going to pass on that one. So I will be back there as Paul works here. I promise you, you're in great hands. I learn a lot from him every day. So I've just been here 3 years for all the things that went wrong. So I can talk about it.
Thank you, Chris. So before I go on to the slides, as I mentioned earlier, I just want to talk to you about our process as well. You understand we have to follow public bid law, but there's really 6 simple steps, sourcing steps that we follow that ensures that we meet our guidelines. First and foremost is take a look at step 1. If there's any existing contracts or if there's any options, whether we're looking at renewals, whether we're looking at contract extension. We then follow step 2 is to understand the scope development as well as the specifications. In the scope development and the specifications, the agency that's asking for this request to go out, they're the gatekeeper, they're the ones that actually driving the specifications. Procurement doesn't, we don't create the specifications. Throughout the slide, you'll see that. Number 3 is the strategy. What is our current strategy? Now we understand, hey, if we don't have a contract, if we're going to go out to bid, you know, here's our scope development, here's our specifications, where do we go? Number 4 is the solicitation. How do we get it out to you guys so you understand here's the opportunity? Step 5 is the evaluation and the selection process. We've already, it's already been publicized. Where do we go? We evaluate and take a look at what's the best option. And We'll go a little bit more further in the slides, and you'll see how we follow a certain set of rules to ensure that it's not biased, but it's fair and open to competition. Number 6 is just the award itself. We award the contract. We ensure that, all right, you've been notified, you were the vendor of choice. Here it is, we start drawing the contract, we get everything, I's and T's dotted, and then we move on. Any questions before I proceed? There's plenty of ways that we go out and how do we procure. First and foremost, with goods and materials, it's lowest bid price. Then we have public works price. Then we have professional service agreements, that's qualification and price. And also we have request for proposal. Now, with our request for proposal, that's more of our complex bids. We don't, in occasion, if I had to take a look at it, those are based on just some certain situations where we're going out, we're conducting RFPs. But in this case here for the junk, trash, and debris, that's going to be an information bid. Any questions, folks? So as I mentioned earlier, in regards to how do we procure and what do we do within our sourcing steps? So as you see goods and materials, anything that is less than $5,000, we can get an informal quote. Okay? If it's greater than the threshold of $5,000 to $30,000, we have multiple quotes. In this case here, 3 to 5 would suffice. Anything greater than $30,000, that's where we go to information for bid. Public works, almost the same process is set within the matrix that you see here. Informal quote, multiple quotes based on the dollar threshold, and then anything greater than that, it's the same process where it goes to information for bid. We'll talk a little bit much more about professional services and public works a little bit later. But this is what this is our guidelines, this is what we follow. Again, it's public bid law. This is not, we don't make this up. We have a certain process that we need to follow.
Thank you, Chris.
So here we are remember the 6 steps that I mentioned to you earlier? We're at the strategy step right now. We're taking a look at, okay, what is the strategy? We've already identified the scope and the specifications. We know which route we should attend based on the way the matrix is set up. So we take a look at it, we identify and engage our key stakeholders. In this case here, the agency in question is the stakeholder. We're looking at internal and external. Then we conduct our market research and pricing analysis. Then we take a look at and leverage any internal, external subject matter experts, constantly still validating the process that we're in to ensure that it's not biased. It's extremely important. We don't make this up. We have a robust process that we're going after to ensure we do what's in the best interest of the city of Baton Rouge. Identify best practices. We may take a look and say, hey, listen, Jefferson Parish is purchasing the same thing. What can I learn from them? We're not always saying that we know everything, but it's always best to challenge our assumptions and also take a look at how we can leverage and speak to some other stakeholders to ensure we're doing the best thing. And then we manage our risk, of course. I'm here to ensure that we minimize risk, and so the mayor's happy, citizens are happy, everyone's happy within this process. All right, here we go. Step 4. This is you guys. Solicitation to invitation to bid. So here we've already gone through all 3 steps. We're at step 4. So we're right in the middle of it. We're taking a look at the entire package. Then we're looking at, have we published and notified all the participants. It's key. We're still following a checklist to ensure everything was done right. Was it publicized? You know, did the advocate do what he was supposed to do? Did we do what we were supposed to do? I validate that with our team. It goes through a certain checkpoints within our process. Then we ensure there's a pre-bid conference. More questions. We have certain deadlines. We gotta meet those deadlines. And we're also allowing, if the deadline has a certain date, that everyone within this process understands the deadline. If I open it up for you, I have to open it up for them. So it's always fair, and it's open competition. Then we develop a Q&A period, where again, that we're gathering all this information. We're going back into our internal customers. We're asking them in general, hey, listen, this is what they're asking. What do you think? We want to make sure we provide you with the best answer. You may have a question that no one else thought about it. We're capturing that. We're going back to our internal stakeholders, and then we're discussing, and then we formally give out the information. And again, at the end, and this is not an RFP, but if it was, if we have to adjust the deadline, that's where we meet internally and discuss if that's a possibility. So what you see here, this is the document for the invitation to bid. This is a key document in starting the process in general. As you see here, everything that we ask in general has to be filled. And Chris, do you want to share a little bit much more about that?
At the end, I'll.
Okay. Yeah. So, again, the most important thing, I've seen a couple documents where it wasn't filled out entirely. Folks, we need you to do your part so we can do ours. If you have a question, to fill in that blank, that's the question that you should ask prior to finalizing this document. It's extremely important that it's done the way it's the information that's asked, that you put all the information here. Every line, from your vendor name, from your telephone number, everything. It's extremely important. Questions? I see you guys looking. Good.
Paul, you have a question?
Yes.
As you're on the application component, what are historically outside of just like errors in filling out the application, what are some like barriers that have been for like specifically Black businesses or minority businesses that you've noticed during the application process that has, prohibited or like prolonged the process? Whether it's certifications or verifying certain things, like was it a business address, or were things that they had or were missing that they should have?
Ma'am, Paul's been with me 90 days, and when I get up, can you ask that question? Because I can probably provide a little more context. It is trial by fire here, but that was a very, there's a long answer that I want to make sure we get out.
Correct. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in this document. Okay, so here we go, step 5, we're almost at home. Got the evaluation process.
This year almost at home for y'all stuff, then they have their stuff.
That's correct. So here we are, we're identifying each RFP response. We're going down to the selection and presentations, the final technical scoring, and then evaluate the cost and score to compare to apples. Let me just be clear. This is for an RFP process. Remember, anything goods and materials and lowest bid price wins. This is just for an RFP process. Just don't want you to think that we go through this even for all the others. This is just an RFP process. Now, this is the part where I talked about engagement. Where does it start? This is where you want to become a vendor. We have everything that's stored in our VSS, our vendor information portal. This is where you go in and register to become a vendor. Now granted, you can do this online, because there's a link to it, but just in case, let's just say, and we're very, very customer centric, if you had an issue of registering and you need someone to help you, feel free. Our team, we have someone up front, we can actually walk you through this. This is where it starts. Finding procurement opportunities. So, you did your part by registering. Now it's my part to ensure to let you know what's coming up the pipe. I vowed, if you go on the website now, brla.gov, we have plenty of opportunities up there. My team is constantly updating it. It's a work in progress. Anything that's out there gives you an opportunity to take a look at what's up and coming. This is us making sure that we're transparent with you, providing you with all the opportunities once you've done your part. Wow, I just mentioned it and it's right there, here you are. So you have your contracting opportunities, this is where vendor information, where I just mentioned earlier, last slide, upcoming procurement opportunities. You have scheduled bid openings, recent bid results. I gotta tell you, our team has done a fantastic job at trying to get information out to the public. It's wonderful. And we will continue to ensure that the information is fresh and live. Any questions so far, folks? We also have LAPAC. Now, this is another location where you can see, through this website here, that you can see other opportunities across the state that are posted here. One small disclaimer, if something is for Jefferson's Parish, I have no involvement in there, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what's going on there. I just want to make sure what pertains to the city of Baton. You'll see everything within the state, which I love it, but I just don't want to say, hey Paul, what's this? I'm going to tell you I don't know. But again, it's a wonderful, useful tool. I actually use it and I think it's great, great knowledge there. And this is how you would search for the open bids. Feel free to take a snapshot if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, just let me add right here. So LAPAC writes, like you said, all the bids in the state. Unfortunately, because of alphabetical order, when you're searching by department, you have to scroll until you get to non-state, East Baton Rouge City. You will think that it does not exist, but if you just keep scrolling, I'm sure you one day you get to it. And then that's where you can see all of the bid opportunities. East City of Baton Rouge is legally required. If they open a bid, it has to be here. Every parish is legally required to do the same on LAPAC. So it is, like you said, a great place to go for opportunities, and you can search by department, by where it is, by city, but you could also search by category if you're willing to do projects of similar, nature across the state.
Thank you, Marlon. Okay, as we mentioned earlier, now it's time for us to read and review the bid. Chris is going to touch base a little bit much more on this document in general for those who may have any questions. But as we get to this point here, you'll see our contact, who's the actual buyer, who's actually working on this bid. Where you see it says Dexter Stewart, where it says contacting regarding any inquiries. You have the analyst's name, you have the phone number and email, where we want to make sure that information pops up as you may have some questions or concerns. And this is who's actually handling the information. Then you can see on the left side of the document where you take a look at, says the title, that's the contract number, the subject matter, junk, trash, debris removal services, and then the file and the ad dates. Everything is there for you Now, when we take a look at preparing the bid, please ensure, folks, I gotta tell you, and some of the things in what I've been privy to the last 90 days, I've seen some bids go out and where the vendor in question hasn't priced the entire bid properly, and I mean that. Make sure all the attributes, manpower, cost of materials, everything. This is key, you have to, because all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot if you don't do that. Last thing to happen is that you get awarded this based on price, and all of a sudden you're like, I didn't figure that, I didn't figure this, I didn't figure that. So I think it's extremely important that you understand you cost it appropriately. Don't lie, some may look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna try to cost it at a certain price, but all you're doing is causing a lot more headaches to you. Yes, sir.
If we do was to bid on the job and it end up being a little bit bigger than what we expected, would y'all come and adjust the bid a little bit according to what we had to spend over on, say, like workers or maybe another piece of equipment we didn't have?
Did everyone hear that question? So let me go back to how I stated the problem statement first. You have to price it accordingly on all the attributes. I wouldn't go back and making that adjustment. Chris, you want to share some time on that?
And it's more of a context. So public sector, private sector. In public sector, it's about fairness and transparency. So think about that discussion. You bid it a little low. Okay, I don't want to see you lose money, but I can't give you more money because the second bidder may have been able to perform the job at that price. Where I will make an adjustment for you is if we have the scope change during the process. So scope could be increased or it could be decreased for whatever reason. We will work with you on a scope change, but I can't work with you that you didn't identify all of your costs when you submitted your bid. So, I hate these things. We want to be fair, really I do. But I have to be fair in terms of the business opportunity for you, as well as all the other bidders. So that's always the delicate balance. If it's a scope change, we will partner with you to address it.
Oh, that's a great question. Great question. Again, if it's a scope change, that's where that allows us to make that change. Okay, last slide.
Okay. How to submit the bid. Learn part.
My apologies, I didn't even see it. So, this is the most important part, how to submit the bid. Please do not email the bid. Please do not mail it to a P.O. box. You have a couple options. You can bring it in person on the 8th floor at City Hall in the purchasing department. Or you can also submit the bid online through Central Auction House. This, again, allows us safety, that we've received the bid on time and we follow the rules of engagement. It's extremely important, folks. I've seen a couple within the 90 days I've been here. Some vendors were disqualified because they didn't ensure we didn't get their package on time. Once again, it's on the 8th floor, 826. Last slide here before I turn it over to our Director of Development, Rachel. Small business entity. This one's a key, a big initiative for us. We take a look at minority spending. This is where we form a team. We took a look at what are the lessons that we learned from how well we're engaging some of our minority vendors. So we just created this team. that we're working through ensuring that A, we have engagement with this team, a certification process. We help them understand too how they can, how to properly submit bids so they're well within the scope of the bid, and just some simple analytics that helps us from a continuous improvement. How do we continue to raise the bar to ensure that we have our DBE program in place? Remember, this is bid. Again, I want to make sure that every citizen in the city of Baton Rouge has an equal and fair opportunity. With that said, thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Rachel.
Does anyone have any questions? I know that's a lot. I told you it would be fun. But basically, become a vendor. And Chris mentioned this earlier today. If you are a vendor, then, and you put in your, when you have a EIN number, you put in your, what's the code?
NCIS.
NCIS, your NCIS is called code. Whatever that is when you register as a vendor, you will give that to the city parish. And anytime any sort of opportunity comes up that is relevant to your NCIS code, they will email you those opportunities. So that is the best way. But become a vendor. Figure out, become comfortable with purchasing's website, with LaPath, so you can find opportunities. Look at the bid. Compete for a bid. I keep saying apply, but that's not the right language.
Submit.
Submit a bid, and then see if you have the cheapest price.
After that.
All right, does anyone have questions on that process? Because Rachel's going to talk about specifically what's the opportunity available to us today. Does anyone have questions about that? And then some other stuff.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's about the process. Is there any special type of insurances that you need to have in order to be a
It's in the bid package.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually refer to what he said in the beginning. Some of those determinations, it just depends on the bid. So Rachel's going to talk about the specific bid package, what you need. But the bid package will always contain what licensures, bonding, insurance, vehicle, all kinds, whatever requirements there is, it will always be specific to the bid and in the bid package. Because sometimes bids are like for supplies, like a truck, right? I mean, some of the bids are like not even for jobs, so it just any questions about how to become a vendor before? So if you are the registered business, you should have an EIN number. I can leave this to Chris though. Oh, be quick.
That's usually a federal tax number is what you're referencing in terms of EIN. So when you set up your business and you set up a tax side, you should have gotten an EIN. Your NCIS code is more of the commodities. So if you do painting, you don't want to know about helicopter purchases. So it's kind of, are you retail? Are you a manufacturer? Are you heavy construction? That's what that code is. The one thing that I'm going to coach you all on, we had this discussion back
Occupational
there.
license uses the NCIS code.
Yes. Think of a parent-child relationship. So let's just say you sell electrical outlets. You put that code. But you could also sell light switches, right? You could also sell wall plates. You might even sell basic electrical wiring. Go to the parent code, not the child. I'd rather send you too many emails that you're not interested in. But like grouping, kind of think of what's a little above it, okay? I don't send out that many. I'm not going to spam you. I'm really not. But when people come and say I didn't know that opportunity, it's usually because you registered too far down, and I just need to help you register up. So take a moment and make sure that you're general enough to be aware of opportunities that you may want to pursue. Okay?
Yeah, and it's normally a 5-digit code. It's a 5-digit code. You got 3 for the parent and 2 for the child. And that's how we know the classifications. That's how, I don't want to keep sending you everything. I just want to make sure it's generalized to you.
Right.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Lambert, the Director of Development. If you know me, you probably know me because I've permitted something with you, but there's a whole nother side called community revitalization that the Department of Development manages, right? So we do code enforcement And, Mayor Broom has been so gracious to give us $4.5 million to clean up blight in the next 2 to 3 years. So here we are in an endeavor. You're on the ride with us to spend $4.5 million. So we've got 1.8 for junk trash and debris removal, which we're going to talk about a little bit more lately, and we've got some grass and some demolition and open buildings and probably some other opportunities to help clean up some blight here in the future. So make sure you register with Chris so you get those emails. All right, so the scope of this. We have put together some bid packages. There are 10 out in total right now. 5 open on 8/23, then the other 5 open on 9/7. You can find them all in LoPac on, vrla.gov under purchasing. And we have put together packages of locations where we have gone and gotten a court order for a blight violation, specifically where junk, trash, and debris exists on a site location, right? In each package, there's roughly 10 to 20 properties that we're asking you to submit a lump sum, right? One number that includes you picking up all the junk, trash, and debris as detailed in the attachment for each bid package for that one number and properly disposing of it, right? So here's the little scope that's in that bid package. So when you see it, there are probably 150 pages. That first 20 or 30, that's Chris, right? That's all that front end legal stuff. And then when you get to page, I think it's 21, 22, that's me. That's the technical stuff, right? You make sure you read all of that because that says specifically what is required of you and what things are excluded and what is expected of you. From me and myself and my department, I've got Elysia and Donald. You're gonna get to know them if you win a bid. They do all the things. All right, so you're gonna remove all the junk, trash, and debris from all the locations. And this is, the lump sum item needs to include furnishing all labor, equipment, materials, supplies, reporting, management, supervision fees, mobilization, demobilization, overhead, and everything else incidental to complete the work, like loading, hauling, dumping, and disposal of the debris at an approved dump site, right? I can't have you going and dumping this in whoever's backyard. It's gotta go to a licensed, permitted debris or landfill site. All right, here's some key takeaways from the bid package and a few little bullet points. This is a lump sum bid contract, right? Like I said, there are 10 to 20 sites in each one, but I'm asking you for a lump sum number. You have to have a contractor's license. I don't care what kind it is, as long as you have a contractor's license from the Louisiana State Contractors Licensing Board, you're good, right? You have to properly dispose of the debris and everything that you pick up, according to federal and state and local laws. There's an extensive coordinating and reporting paragraph because I need you to help me document all this stuff so I can pay you, right? And we have set up some really good digital reporting. We've got some reports and stuff that you'll be able to go to a link on your phone or an app, take a picture when you clean it up and send me the address and whoo, there it is. And then when you send me your invoice, I will have already gone out and inspected that and we'll be all good and I click forward to Chris to pay, right? Because of the scope of work of these are on private property and less than the required amount, we're not having a bid bond. Now, the next one's key. No removal of tires, junk vehicles, or hazardous materials. Yay!
That's the biggest problem.
No, I have other people to do those things. That's okay. Calm down.
That's why I was here.
All right, so the tires, because there's a specialty license to haul and remove and transport those, we're asking you to coordinate with our office and put the tires at the roadside in a location where we can come and pick them up. It's gonna be easy. Now, some of these sites, we have more than just a junk, trash, and debris court order on them. We might have a junk vehicle, we might have open unsecured or a swimming pool or something. You're not responsible for that. I just need you to pick up the junk trash and debris. And of course, hazardous materials requires a specialty license, so we are not asking you to do those. In Chris's first 20 sheets, there's a whole bunch of federal clauses and requirements. Make sure you read them. All right, here's a wonderful dashboard that we have set up of all the property locations. You can see that in big group A, there's 10, and then B and 13, and we'll send this link out so that you can go look at it. You can click on every dot, everything, and it'll send you directly to, an attachment that has all the information with the pictures and everything that was in all of those bid packages that went out, right? That are like 100 and something pages, but if you want to look at one specific property, you can see. And then they're color coded by the group up on the map, right? And then I've included some examples of our junk and debris that we're gonna have to pick up, so that you can kind of get a sense of what some of the things that are gonna be on the sites. These are some of the worst ones, I'll say that. And these are actually pictures from a couple of the bid packages. I made sure to go take some out of the ones that are actually you're bidding on, so. All right. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I see that trailer. You hauling that out too, or?
Trailer Donald? Yes.
So that's including tires that we're going
Tires on the trailer? There's only a specialty license required if you're just hauling the tire itself, not when it's attached to something else. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Is this tied in with the 311? So
Yes.
you'll call the 311?
So that's where we get all of our blight complaints, right? And we investigate them, and then we bring them to blight court. And that's how we've obtained all the judgments that we're asking you to go complete, right? So that's where, we've sent them these letters. There's a whole lot of work that went on to get to this point that my staff has done, investigated, and sent letters and brought people to blight court and got a court order. That's how we're able to go and do this, because usually we don't spend public dollars on private property, right? That's usually how, people go to jail. But because we have a court order, we can do that this time.
How do you get an area on this list that you have on?
You can submit a 311 request and we will investigate it and send out the proper notification. Most people don't realize, and this kind of is getting into a how blight works and how the blight office works, is that when you put in that request, there are state mandated requirements as far as noticing. We have to actually notify that property owner and any person who has any stake in that property, because when we go clean something up, we lien the property. And in order to do so, which is what's keeping me and my staff out of jail, right? Because we're spending public dollars on private property, which is a no-no. In order to lien someone, you have to make sure that you make proper notice, right? So it's a large burden, right, on my office to make sure that we have properly noticed someone. So that's why it tends to somewhat take, a very long time. In a lot of places in this parish, there are some very complicated titles, right? And I know people think, oh, well, that doesn't matter. It does, because it takes a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of mail. We send a lot of mail, so maybe keeping Baton Rouge afloat in the mail office. So, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
How do y'all keep track of the disposal? How do y'all keep track of the disposal from being contracted out to pick it up and haul it away? How do you keep track that it actually goes to the
Watch for an official answer on that question, because I had it this morning, and we will clarify it. But you're going to have to report to me where you're sending all of this debris, and I'm going to have to verify that it is a location. There's several other privately owned disposal sites in the parish and other parish areas that you could bring some of this debris too, but, and there's the East Baton Rouge Parish landfill, but unofficially we'll probably be requiring to make sure information back to me, make sure that that was actually disposed of properly. But we'll put something on the addendum. Anybody else?
I've gone to the 311 site for sites in town, but they don't necessarily have an address associated with them.
It's very important if you put in a 311 request that you try to put in an address or an intersection, right? Because we get so many requests, there's no information, they didn't type anything in the description, and we're like,
Does it let you, I didn't think it let you put.
yeah. Chris wants to talk about
Yeah,
that.
so I apologize because we're coming up on 7 and I'm long-winded, but I want to. 311's great, grab her, she can help you on that. I want to talk about this bit. I'm astounded how many people make a mistake on that first page. You forget to sign it. So maybe you have a business partner or somebody else reviewing it or filling it out because I have chicken scratch. Then I walk in and I forgot to sign it. I honestly end up having to disqualify 10 to 50% of the bids for clerical errors. So take a moment, get that filled out right. A couple clarifications because in terms of fairness, and I like how we answered your question. If I answer your question, I have to make all bidders aware of it. So any questions I've answered here are not official unless you officially ask me, and I officially respond. But specific to yours, I'm not perfect, and I hadn't thought through how do I verify. So with a whole lot of humility, it's these types of questions that help me get better.
Me either.
So I had a chance to talk to a gentleman back there. We have worked very hard to be inclusionary. We used to use this word must all the time, which was a great I gotcha. I think I've eliminated 95% of the musts. You must sign it. I must make sure you're authorized to enter into the agreement. You don't want me bidding it on your behalf. There's very few musts, but those musts are absolute. There's a couple of key milestones in here, and it's amazing because I understand them now, but I understand why there's confusion. There's a Q&A period. My goal is to be inclusionary. If I have done something that has made it non-inclusionary, kind of back to the discussion there, you have a chance to ask during the Q&A period. I can make adjustments during that period. After that period, I can't. And after the bid opening, I can't. So I'll give you a real life example. We were trying to get caught up after COVID. I was going to release $350,000 public works projects, $450 grand. I had a vendor come to me and say, Chris, I can't bond 3 jobs. I can bond each one. I'm happy to get one, but now you're making me pick one specific job. I had no problem changing the bid opening date because I want to be inclusionary. So the problem, I don't know it. It's an open door. I can't give you a specific answer on an open bid. You can always talk general. But I cannot preview your bid to make sure it's complete as you walk into the 8th floor right before I open the bid. The bid opening is 11 on these. 11:01, it's like 11 in 1 second. It's like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's public bid law. So I left for work today and it was backed up over a mile because first day's full. Private sector, I go, hey, I get it. You know what? We'll do this by 12. I can't hear. It's 11 o'clock. Our mail gets kind of in the basement and then distributed. Do not send it United States Postal Service. I like them, don't send it that way. If you're going to do it, have FedEx. Please go out to central bidding if you want to submit it electronically. Love it. But don't wait till the last minute. You got to log in, you got to create an account. It might not be the most intuitive. Start early. Last and finally, there's a gentleman back there who hasn't been introduced, and we talked about the leadership team. So I'm going to make Mr. Gore stand up. And he's shaking his head. We work for you, and there's this perception that whatever happens on the 8th floor is like this black box and this machine that generates something. And it's just the opposite. Public bid law, you can ask for my entire mailbox. So I prefer you to come by and say hi to me, say hi to Mr. Phillip and Mr. Paul. Give us a chance to sit and talk with you and kind of demystify this. This is one example of us reaching out and trying to help understand, but it's still a lot of information. Vendor self-service. There's screenshots. If you're intimidated by it or it still doesn't make sense, call us. You know, they get front Chiquita, she's awesome.
She is
If you still can't figure it out, we have 2 chairs. I can't hit the button for you. We will sit you next to her and she will tell you, go over here, hit this and hit this. I just can't do it for you. I'm very proud of how customer focused we are. That starts with the mayor, it starts with our vision. I'm not perfect. When I screw something up, tell me. I'll fix it if I can. And if I can't, I'll help you understand why. So that would be my one request.
And I know that this is kind of a scary type of work, right? We actually haven't did this before, or this type of work before, but we want to compensate you fairly and justly for the type of work that you are doing, right? We have $4.5 million and we have a giant blight problem in this parish. And we are committed to cleaning it up and we need you to help us by submitting a bid. That's what I really need, so.
One other last one, and y'all aren't picking it up. Public bid law. Let's say we do this first round and we open it up. You can come back and ask for the bid sheets and see who won the amount, so you have a general idea of what the market is. It's a little different than private, but seriously. So if you can ask for any past historical information. And I got challenged. Our goal is to post the bid results. Now those are the bid reading numbers. That doesn't mean they were responsive and responsible, but our goal is to do it within 24 hours. I had somebody ask me about one, and you can go out to brla.gov. You can look at recent bids, about 5 down, and you'll see your bid tab sheet. So at least I got that one right. But any questions, reach out to us. Come by, say hi. I enjoy talking more than that.
Yeah, both of our websites have lots and lots and lots of information about our departments. brla.gov/purchasing for Chris /development for me.
And before y'all ask, I did not bring business cards. I apologize. This isn't coming
Me either.
But if you go to purchasing, on the right-hand side at the very top, you'll see my name. It's Chris with a K. You'll see my phone number. You'll see my email address.
Mine too, on development.
It might be strategic to do the website.
I hate paper.
Thank you guys. Thank y'all. All right, so before we wrap up, and I want to be, respectful of your time, raise your hands if you feel just a little bit more knowledgeable about how to get a city contract. Great. All right, it was worth it. It's all worth it. So to Rachel's point, we want to make sure that what we are doing is providing an opportunity for your business. So go out, look at these properties. Think about all the different costs. Think about the profits you need to make this work in, the salaries you need to pay, the dump fee to go bring it, the equipment you might need to rent or borrow or buy. Think about all of that when you put your bid together, but then also know that lowest price wins.
Can't even enter the contract. I can't, once I've entered that contract, we're married until we're done. And divorce is really expensive.
And we are partners with you in this marriage, and right, Grace will take you through the end. So we want to work with you, and we want to be great partners with you. So to that end, I will stick around, and I think if they can, they will stick around and answer questions. If you want to talk community development, community revitalization, happy to. In fact, I have business cards. So
I have a website, you don't.
you have a that's so true.
Rub it in.